Hi, I'm Tilo Young, and this is Small Jobs. Hi, I'm Tilo, and welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk a little bit about atheism. Properly speaking, atheism isn't really what the name suggests. The name atheism means a belief that there is no God. And very knowledgeable atheists will generally acknowledge they're not giving an absolute affirmation that there is no God, because that would require having all knowledge of that which exists beyond the observable universe in order to claim that there is no God, and obviously you can't observe beyond the observable universe. So, it's kind of a rough term that gets used, and people understand it in this rough way. More properly, it would be agnosticism of some form, indicating a lack of knowledge about it, and to various degrees, people will claim this. So another way to describe atheism is in the positive affirmation. So instead of atheism, no God, there is an assertion of what is, which is to say naturalism or materialism. And that essentially says that the observed universe is all that there is and accounts for everything we see. Well, this is what we're going to examine today. This proposition of matter, energy, and laws of physics, which is essentially the sum total of everything observable. If that is true, what are the ramifications of it? And so what we're going to do is lay out a hypothetical premise of it being true. Now keep in mind that when we start examining this, we're not using observation, we're taking a hypothetical premise and we're extrapolating what that would mean. So kind of for the moment, for the video, set your observations aside and let's just kind of move forward with this idea that matter, energy, and laws of physics are all that exist. See, very often atheists, to come to their conclusion, claim to be doing so based upon science. But before you do science, there's something necessary, because science itself relies on a number of very important presuppositions, such as observation, such as the ability to choose between two propositions, which is to say volition, the ability to choose. There's logic, laws of mathematics. There are a number of things that are needed in the first place in order to sit down to do science. But these things are not part of the material reality. In order to move into materialism, we have to be able to speak in purely materialistic terms. So there is no place for terms like mind or thought. These become brain and synapse and chemistry. These have to be described in purely material terms in order to be consistent with the model of materialism. And so this is where we're going to start, is by looking at this in purely materialistic terms and ask, if we came to this conclusion of matter, energy, and laws of physics being all there is, what does that mean about me, who comes to this conclusion? How did I get to this conclusion? And so what we're going to examine is essentially the concept of causality. That if what we're observing and what we are is an effect, meaning we're not eternal self-existent beings, and this universe is not an eternal self-existent universe, then there were causes to every single thing. And these causes are, again, boiling down to matter, energy, laws of physics. So what a thing does in a materialist universe is what it's caused to do by laws of physics acting on the composition. So you have kind of the coalescence of matter, and then it compacting and gaining mass and then creating heat and creating a star and the nuclear reactions that happen. All these things are physics acting on matter. And this is what a materialist universe would be. And so we're going to kind of start from that point and move forward to the me sitting here at this moment saying, I believe that there is no God. So as I move forward through this, you go to, the forming of stars and planets, and then somehow that first piece of living organism crawls out of the ocean. You all know the story. And then we go fast forward, more complex beings, fast forward. A guy meets a girl and falls in love, and lo and behold, sperm meets egg, and we're formed in a given composition according to a DNA structure, and we fast forward, and this grows and becomes a human being and is born, and then other forces start acting on it as it interacts with this universe, and it takes the essential program and starts tweaking and altering it. At this point, what I'd like to do to help us to understand this is to speak in terms of an analogy of a chess game. So let's say I take 10 computers and I program them to play chess. And I give each one a different objective. One is to capture the king, one is to capture the queen's knight, another is to capture the king's bishop, and so on and so on. And I give them all different objectives. And then, boom, they run their programs. Well, every one of them comes out at the end and says, I won. And in fact, they all did win according to their program. But how do we know if one of them actually had the correct program and legitimately won? Because they're really all just spitting out what they were caused to spit out by their programming. And so if we look at us, we are programmed by a long causal chain of a program that's resettable. But what we are spitting out constantly is the current program that keeps getting altered, and this is the current state of the program, and this is what it believes, it says it believes, but again, belief is not really a material thing, is it? So we're just kind of using a non-material term. Really, more properly, when my synapse fires, when it hears this combination of sounds called words, this is what comes out. This is more the reality in a materialist universe. And so how would we know if one of those programs got it right? Well, you'd have to be able to transcend the program. You'd have to be the programmer. And all of us being within that program would have no access to that programmer. And in fact, that programmer is a non-intelligent programmer. It's matter, energy, and laws of physics. That's the programmer. It has no truth. It has no right, and it doesn't care. So essentially, what we are coming out with is the end of a causal chain. And that being the case, we have to ask, okay, wait a minute. When I come to this end of this causal chain, I've eliminated volition. So I really can't choose between two propositions. What we're referring to as choosing is actually me just spitting out what my program spits out, just like it is with you and him and her and everybody else. So there is no way to know if somebody got it right or if there is a right. Again, we're all just spitting out what we must spit out, what we are caused to cause by our causes. And so if that's the case, then we have a real dilemma, because first of all, I have to reject what I directly observe in myself firsthand, which is an ability to choose. I can see that in myself, and the ability to reason, and that my reasoning is valid. I have to throw that out because it's all just cause and effect, and I have no basis for thinking any of these things are true. But I'm directly observing them, and now I have to deny what I see in myself in favor of what? In favor of a belief system that makes me simply something that's spitting out a program which I have no anticipation or expectation of being correct. And so really that does speak to me personally as one having an agenda, because to deny what we observe firsthand in favor of a conclusion we come to through secondhand observations, and that very conclusion negates the basis by which I came to the conclusion, then that really doesn't seem like a very rational answer to the question of what am I and who am I. So I hope this video, being very short, was enough to convey this concept, and if not, feel free to contact me for further discussion on the matter. Thank you for joining us.